Yeah. All right. So a little introduction for everyone on YouTube. So we're going to be going through Salt Lake City and a couple of the suburbs or cities just very close to Salt Lake City today. We're going to be doing the market analysis. Once again, this is one of Kyle Stanley's students, the Fearless Investor. We're going to jump right in it. Thanks again for letting me being able to put this on YouTube. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Cool. Let's go. So we have the 3 different reports here. So you can see what we're looking at is Orem. Now over here we have Provo, and then we have Salt Lake City, right?
Okay.
I'm going to use Salt Lake City just for the example that I'm going to be going through because there's just more to it. So it's a better one for me to go through.
Okay.
Let's start off with the data. So when we extracted all of the data, we had all of this raw data, right? So it kind of looks like this, gives you an idea. Every single row that you're looking at here is a Airbnb listing, right? And every single column is a different data point. Now, I might have gone over some of this already with you, but we're going to go through it again, okay? Also, by the way, I talk in really long sentences and I kind of go through, I just talk a lot during these calls because I have a lot to get across in an hour. And so if at any point in time you want to ask a question, just interrupt me. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I know how I talk, so it's totally fine.
Cool.
Okay? You have full permission.
Awesome.
Cool. So once again, the rows are Airbnbs, and then the columns are the different data points. You have average daily rate, occupancy. We got bedrooms, bathrooms, revenue, the lat and the long, so we know where they're located, how many days we've been tracking them, and then the Airbnb link themselves. So we can actually look at the listing. Now, a lot of the data on AirDNA is wrong. Like a good amount of it is actually wrong, or not useful. Sorry, it's right, but it's just not useful. So Airbnb, like the data is only useful if it has been tracked for an entire year. The way that AirDNA works is that it has an algorithm that goes into every single Airbnb listing over an entire year and tracks and records the calendar, and then figures out what the annual revenue is, right? So if a calendar has only been tracked or a listing's only been tracked for a year, half a year, then we only have one season, right? So if it was only tracked over the peak season, and then you try and take that number and duplicate it, you're going to be way off, right? And vice versa.
Absolutely.
So we need homes that have been around for almost a full year. My kind of marker is around 250 days or more, right? We also want the home to be an entire home, not a private room or shared room, because you're doing this full time. And then there's some other little criteria that I use as well to remove all of the bad data so that we end up with just the good stuff that's actually useful for what you're trying to do. Because you're trying to run a full-time business, you need annual numbers because you have annual expenses, right? Pretty straightforward. Yep. So when we started off with the data for Salt Lake City, when we downloaded it, there were 2,710 listings. And then once I removed all the data, we ended up with 457. So a huge portion was removed. I think we're only left with 20%-ish of the listings. So 80% of the listings are actually gone. Now, you're not actually going to need to use any of these tabs here, so I'm just going to hide them. But I just like for you to know where the data is coming from, how it's been cleaned up, so what you're looking at, right? Now, I take that data and then I organize it into this pivot table. And the pivot table on the left-hand side, what we have are the zip codes and the neighborhoods-ish. Okay, so the zip code is what matters more. The name beside it is sort of a nickname to help you recall exactly where it is. So let me hop over to your name and show you exactly what I mean by this. Just give me a second. I'll take a second to load. You have AirDNA? Have you played around with AirDNA?
Yep, I have a lot. That's kind of what I've been primarily using for our comps. We've just been using averages and then plugging them into a calculator. But this, obviously, this is a lot more comprehensive, which gets me excited. So,
cool. Yeah, like it. So the when you're on here, right, you know, you can break it up into the different zip codes if you click up here. Okay, perfect. So this one here, 84121, it has the most locations. The most Airbnbs are in that region. These are in order from highest to lowest, right? Or most listings to least amount of listings. So you can see the zip code right there. That's what you use to pull up that area. But then you can see there's a name here, Stone Mountain Picnic Area. So if I were to go over here, you can see that it's not just in the Stone Mountain Picnic Area. It's kind of all over the place. So the zip code is what matters. The other name is just a little name we put in there to help you remember exactly where it is. Okay, because the number zip codes are kind of hard to remember. So
Yeah.
with that being said, we have the zip codes on the left-hand side, and up over here, we have the unit sizes. So we have the studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, right? And so on and so forth.
Okay.
Now, where those two connect is what is the average annual revenue for a unit in that area and that size. So for this zip code, a 1 bedroom is doing roughly $42,000 on average. Okay. Now I'm going to come down here, and there's this little button that says average. I can change this to count. When I change that to count, this turns to 14, right? So what that's telling me is that there are 14 Airbnb listings in that area, right? Now that's
1 bedroom.
That are all 1 bedrooms. Exactly. Yeah. And so that's a good piece of data to know, because we need to, data is only useful when there's a trend. So when there's a consistency of things happening over and over again. So we want to see like 3 to 5 listings that are all making roughly around, let's say $50,000. If we can see that, then we know that all of those homes will generally look very similar, right? And then if we find a home that matches the same quality of those homes when it comes to like the kitchen, bathroom, the size of the place, the backyard, all that stuff, and then we go and put another home in, we know that we're most likely going to make around 50,000, because that's how much a home like that makes, right? Now, I like to use the Burger King logic. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't. No, sir.
So McDonald's spends millions of dollars to figure out what is the absolute corner to best corner to be on. Burger King across the street, right? So what I always say is like everyone that's opened up an Airbnb listing before is kind of like a guinea pig. They've tested out all of the different areas, the different types of homes, the different unit sizes, everything, right? And so what we're trying to figure out is where are the ones that actually have worked, and then we open up across the street, right? And so that's what we're doing right now. So I'm going to change this back to average. And when we're in average, now we're seeing that there's, the average annual revenue is 42,000, but there's 14 listings there. So that means that 7 are doing better than 42,000 and 7 are doing worse, right? Makes sense.
Yep.
Cool. So the next step to do here is, let me just clean this up a little bit. I'm going to put some freezes in here, make it easier to move around so you can move around a little better. Before I go and explain everything about this, I just want to explain my other tabs down here. Okay. Because then we're going to get into the details. So the other tab down here is called pivot unique. So this is a pivot table based off of bedrooms. This is a pivot table based off of bedrooms and bathrooms. So you can see here that there is it's the exact same regions on this side, but when it comes up top here, we're looking at a studio with 1 bed, a 1 bedroom, 1 bath, a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, a 2 bedroom, 2 bath, right? And the reason that we do this is because you can see here, a 2 bedroom, 1 bath on average is making 33,000, but a 2 bedroom, 2 bath on average is making 53,000. So that's a 20,000 difference. That is a huge trend that exists almost everywhere. An additional bathroom will generate about $20,000 and more in highly competitive areas. It's not everywhere, just competitive areas. You can see here it's not the case, and even just directly below that. So this tab is, this one down here is sort of like when you get the hang of things, when you're a little bit more advanced, when you're trying to understand the difference between the bedrooms. This is kind of where you want to go, right? But in a sense, this is just really straightforward. We have regions on one side, the unit size, and then we have the revenue, right? And all you're trying to be able to do is figure out where is the most revenue being made. That's it, nothing else, right? So at a quick glance, if you were to look, you can see that this, if I were to look at all of the 1 bedrooms, right? It's very clear to see where I wouldn't want to even look into, and then where I would want to look into, right? We got one that's this area down here. It's only making about 19, maybe 20,000, but the very first one's on average doing about 42,000. So it's just like, it makes it really easy to figure out where to go within the city and where not to go, right? Because that's what you want to be able to do. You want to avoid a majority of the places. Now with rental arbitrage, which is a model that you're doing, you need a good amount of money to be made to cover your expenses. Even AirDNA has posted on their Instagram saying the larger the units, the better you do with arbitrage, right? And so what I always kind of recommend, now that doesn't mean that 1 bedrooms are not profitable. If you get like 10 units in a building, that's a good way to go about it. There's people that teach that, but what I want to kind of show you here is where my eyes go, right? And I'm seeing this right here. I'm seeing 81 and 86. I see 132 and 67. So what I don't like about this second row, if I were to just go all the way across, is that between the 1 bedroom and the 2 bedroom, there's almost no growth, right? It's almost the exact same. So that tells me 2 bedrooms are just, I would never get a 2 bedroom in that area, right?
Yeah.
And then the 3 bedrooms, I can see have a nice big jump, and then to the 4 bedrooms is also a big jump, but then it goes down for the 5 bedrooms. So that's something that
Diminishing returns.
which doesn't usually make sense, right? So there's something going on here that something is off. So in my head, I'm going, I'm not going to start my research there, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's, but when I see up here, I see 44, 54, big jump up at 80 to 81, and then an even bigger jump up to 5 and 6 bedrooms, right? Now, this is what intrigues me the most instantly, because that's a lot of money being made. Now, this is also where the most listings are. But personally, I like to go where the most listings are, because that's where the most demand is, the most money's being made. And if I could, and if there's 10 listings, I bring in the 11th listing, I'm not just receiving, it's not like all of those 10 places are going to get booked up before me just because I'm new. I can bring a home into those 10 and be like the first best or the second best home that's in there, right? Which means that I will get more occupied than the person who's the worst one there, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the beauty about Airbnb, is like everyone can be there, but you can have the better product, and so you'll get more. All right, so
Love it.
yeah, first glance, I'm saying it's very clear that there's a lot of money being made in this area. There's some other hot spots here that I'd be curious about looking into a little bit more, but for the sake of this call, I'm just going to start with the 4 bedrooms in this general area, and we're going to do a deep dive in there. Now, before I do that, we want to figure out if there's supply, right? So you got to hop over to Zillow and see if there are actually any 4 bedrooms in that area that are even available to rent, right? Because if there isn't, then what's the point?
Yeah.
You've also told me that Salt Lake has a lot of regulations, so this might be just like where they are, right? Maybe it's not like where you're allowed to be. So that might be why the majority of the business is being done here, which might, lower the supply of the amount of rentals, but we'll figure that out very quickly. Any questions so far?
No, this is great. This is gold. I appreciate this.
Of course, you paid for it, so. Cool. So this is the 8421. 2121. Salt Lake's way up there. Or like at least the downtowns. We want to follow that highway all the way down. We're at the bottom corner of this down here. Okay, so what I'll do with that is I'm going to type in, we're looking at only four bedrooms or more, because we know that they're all doing well. And we're actually going to have to remove these boundaries because we're way down here. And that's what you want to see. You want to see 4 bedrooms available. And look at those prices. Those are cheap.
Yeah.
That's really cool to see. All right, so now let's dive into the data. So we see that there's supply, okay, which is what we want. Let's confirm that we're in the right spot. We are. Now, mind you, when we're looking at this area, it's very long, right? It goes from here all the way to here. So I'm going to make some quick assumptions. I don't know this area. I know nothing about Salt Lake, but if I were to assume, I would say that the homes that are doing the best are going to be up here in the mountains, and then the other ones are going to be down here, right?
Yeah, it's a huge ski resort up there. So
yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to map these out to figure out where the money's being made, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. All that matters is that we see that there's homes available down here. Let's check if there's any homes available in that ski resort. Doesn't look like it. Oh, there it is. Nothing. Okay, that's what I thought. So we'll just stick down here. Maybe some people are getting homes down here and then driving up that way, right? Which is probably what's driving the revenue. So back. Now, when we want to learn more about a location, you can either double click it or you right click it and go show details. What's going to happen when you do that, it's actually going to open up all of the listings that are 4 bedrooms within that specific area, right? So like I was showing you earlier, we see all that's an Airbnb, that's an Airbnb, that's an Airbnb, right? We have this new tab down here that shows you the zip code, the nickname, and then 4, meaning 4 bedrooms, right? So we know what we're looking at. So now we see all of these are 4 bedrooms in that area, right? And I'm going to move this over to the revenue column. And in the revenue column, I'm going to organize it from who's making the most to who's making the least. So I go from sort sheet from Z to A. What I quickly see is I see some groupings, right? So we have some outliers up here that are doing really well, all the way up to there. And then we have a grouping here. So from about here to here, that's about a $10,000 gap. That's beautiful. That's like one of the best things you can see because we have, I don't know, like 7 listings and they're all doing within a, was that a almost $10,000, $13,000 range, right? So if I see 7 listings that are all making 100,000, I want to know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
What are they
Yeah.
really doing? How can I get one? Now I'm going to assume once again that these are actually going to be in the other area that are doing better, right?
Yep.
But then we want to keep going. So now we see this one's kind of on its own here, unless you were to take like the grouping from here to here. But we can see there's another grouping here of about 10,000 or so, right? Maybe about $15,000. All of these homes right here, those are all going to be very similar as well. They're probably going to be in the same location. They're going to have the same sort of kitchen, bathroom, the size of the home, the way the photos are taken. It's all going to be very similar. So this is what we're looking for. This is what we call a trend, right? We're seeing the consistency, and so now we can see how well these homes are doing. And then we see this sort of drop off here, and we see a bunch of homes that aren't doing too well, and then a handful that are just doing terrible. This is really odd. These homes are probably just, you would never do what these homes are doing. So just like the idea is don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what we're going to try and figure out right now is we want to try and figure out what are these guys doing and is it possible to do what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
My assumption is that they're probably up by the ski resort, and so we're most likely not going to be able to do what they're doing. Now the next step is to go, what are these guys doing and can we do what they're doing and still make money, right?
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
we find supply for that, then perfect. We know that there's money to be made. Then what we have to do is we got to look at what these guys are doing and avoid what they're doing. So what is it that they've done wrong and make sure we don't make those mistakes? Because if you do make those mistakes, that's all your profit out the window, right?
Absolutely.
Now, you're working with Kyle, you're working with me, you're studying, you're a smart guy. Like you're most likely not going to make these same mistakes, but the idea is to really know this really, really well. So I was going through a report yesterday with another client, and the difference between all of the profit was it sort of came down to the size of the kitchen. Like we were looking at it, and the only real thing that we could tell that was a difference, other than like some slightly better photos, slightly better interior design, was the size of the kitchen. So those are kind of the insights that you're going to end up getting, right? Another thing is like for me, when I would have my 4 bedrooms in Chicago, they needed to have a dining room, and I figured that out with after losing lots of money was that if I'm going to get a 4 bedroom and I'm going to have it host 12 people, there needs to be a dining room. Now there could be common space, but if there's not an extra room for a dining table, that's an issue because whether there's room for a dining table in like in a big room or something like that, if people don't feel like there's a lot of space for them to move around with the 12 people that they're dealing with, they don't want to book a home, and so it's not going to get booked. It's going and somebody else who does have that is going to get booked, right? So like that became a criteria where I remember, I can still remember like one of the best homes I ever I wanted, perfect area. I'd been waiting like a year for a home in that area. Finally came available, like handed to me, and I walked through it, and there was no dining room, like literally no dining room. But because all the space was given to the bedrooms, but I was like, Airbnb guests don't give a shit about how big the bedroom is. They just want the big common area to hang out with everybody. So it's and like another little insight was I needed a pool heater down in Scottsdale, Arizona. I lost out on 2 homes, like I lost money on 2 homes down in Scottsdale because they didn't have a pool heater. That was the only real thing that actually made me lose money. So
and a lot of these, it sounds like you're just learning as you're going, essentially, because I imagine you can't really, from these numbers,
I didn't have this, right? Like I didn't have this, I didn't have this process, I didn't have this figured out. So it was losing the money on those homes that made me figure this out, right? And so that's what I'm trying to that's what I'm trying to pass on to everybody, is saying like, fucking do this and you won't lose money, or you won't lose as much, right?
Love it. Yeah, I love it.
All right, cool. So first thing I want to do is we're going to map these out. Okay. So I'm going to take these ones here, just the top performers, and we're going to put it into this map line. Mind you, I lost money on some, but I made money on a bunch of others. So that's the thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, learning your mistakes just to make even more money. So I get it, brother.
Exactly. All right. Let's delete that. Okay, so this here is a program called Mapline. and you
Okay.
can take the data from over here,
Just straight from it, huh?
straight from it. You need the titles, and you can just plug it right in there. Just if you look up Mapline and just play around with it, you'll figure it out. But essentially what we're doing is
Okay.
we're plotting all the lat and long into a map so that we can see how profitable those homes are, right? Now those are the top performers. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to group them together, and then I'm going to hide all of them, and then I'm going to grab all of the lower performers. Let me put it that way, because there's a huge group here that's making around 60 to 70, and I know
Yeah.
based off of those rents that that's still profitable. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to go new data set. I'm going to say lower tier, and plugging that in, and you can see it has the titles here, which allows me to, it's going to recognize that. You can see the lat and the long get matched up. And I'm going to choose revenue.
Just put revenue. Cool.
Anywhere. Yep. And then I got to add these maps in, or these data sets to my map. So I just have like a standard map in there called Kissimmee.
Cool.
Let's go. Once again, this is not confusing stuff. It's just, this is just a software program you'd have to learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only reason that we have to map this, you don't always have to map everything. You usually actually don't. The only reason we actually have to is because there's 2 spots in this one zip code, right? We have,
Gotcha. That makes sense.
so that's why we have to map it to figure out where.
Because you're just capturing the ones by the mountain. You know,
Exactly.
that makes sense.
Exactly. So now we're in here. Let's go to. Okay, so first step, before even going, opening up the listings, taking a look at them, everything, I just want to see where that money's being made. So I click on this. All right, so we have a good grouping down here, which is nice to see because not all of the top performers are going to be over here. But let's take a look. We have 98, 165, 107. So those are all top performers. Let me change this color real quick. They give me 2 colors that are the same. That makes no sense.
All of them changed.
Yeah, hold on. What did I do wrong here?
No worries.
I might have put the same data set in twice.
I don't think you did. I think you did go lower and higher. Maybe not. Maybe you didn't copy it the second time.
There's 30 records of, yeah. I put them all in. All right, well, that doesn't make any sense. Let me edit this. Sorry, I've actually never had to edit, so this is going to take me a second to figure out, but I'm sure there's a way to do it.
All right, good, brother. Take your time. It's good to see you guys. Sorry, I'm on this call right quick, so I don't see you guys before then. Wait.
There we go. Where do you work?
So this is my office. Kind of my side job is I'm a sales regional manager for a company called Vivint. I don't know if you've heard of them before.
Vivint?
Vivint, yeah, we do like home security and solar.
Gotcha. Oh, I might have actually. Might have, but not super familiar. But nice. That's a good job to have. Okay, so I fixed it. For whatever reason, what was I gonna say? The lower tier was all of the listings for some reason, instead of just the lower ones, even though I did what I was supposed to do. So what we can see quickly from colors is the red is the ones that are in the lower half, and the blue are the ones that are performing better, right? And so I know over here there's nothing available. So why even study it? Why learn it, right? Unless you're going to be purchasing over there. Obviously, if you want to purchase them over there, there's a lot of money being made. In that case, that makes a lot of sense to try and figure that out, right? Like, there's a ton of money being made. So but that's not what we're doing here today. So what we want to do then is we want to look over here. And the interesting thing is that we still have some blue over here doing well.
Yeah.
That's what I'm now curious about, right? We have one doing 95, one doing 75. What I don't like is that these two are side by side. That
Right
might
next to each other.
it might be an issue with the data. It might be. So we're gonna figure that out. But there's still some blue down here that is doing well. So let's try and figure out what they're doing, because then we can potentially replicate it, right? We got another one down here and it's tied up with that one too. So that's a little nerve wracking. So let's start off with this 99,503. Let's go from there. Okay. Now, one thing I want to mention, because it's going to happen, is that these links to the Airbnb listing sometimes just don't open. AirDNA will keep the listing links in there no matter what. And people will pause their listing, take them down for different reasons, stuff like that. So that could potentially happen. Just letting you know before it does. Okay. It's gonna not gonna happen with a lot of them, but there is some that it might. And this one I was a little worried about it doing that. So there you go. The reason I was worried about that happening was because it was performing really well in that area and none of the other ones were. So it's like it was either going to be a great listing that was an outlier, or it's an issue with the data. So it was an issue with the data. So anyways, mark that one red because it's the link didn't open. And then so it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we have 95 and 56. We have to figure out if we have to open up the 95 and take a look at it. There you go. So that's fucking beautiful. Now I'm gonna open up the 56 and make sure that we're not looking at the same listing twice.
Four 8.5. Yep.
Nice, good catch. Nope, we're not. Cool. Tell by the listing.
Okay.
Oh,
is it the same listing?
it looks like it's almost in the same building. See, so it's not the same listing, which is good. You
Okay.
can just tell because, or like,
One's a condo.
Yeah, which means
I got you.
Cool. So this is gonna actually be pretty interesting because is it the same guy? Same host? No, it's not.
No,
So
it's a different guy.
Yeah, this is interesting because we have one person making 95 and one person making 56, and they have the same home for the most part, or at least it looks like it. So let's figure out why. So right off the bat, this one shows huge windows with a fireplace that goes all the way up. It's got nice overshot, so it looks like you're looking down into the living room, which you would be based off of these photos. I'm doing a first glance here, right? Like what
For sure.
impressive.
For sure. Yeah.
And then when I look at this one, it's giving off a really small, like it's not as large, right? It doesn't look as big. And we can also see the dining room is like tucked into the living room, and it almost looks like this is looking at nothing. So at a first glance, you can kind of see differences, right? Nothing major, but this one definitely gives off a large luxury feel, right? So
for sure.
Typically we would go through this step one by one. But just because this is so interesting, I kind of want to go through it first. Yeah. See, this has its own area for the dining room. It's got six tables. You can see over here, like that's a big area with nice, big, huge, high ceilings. So they're definitely different types of homes. Definitely. Right. Hot tub, beautiful kitchen, massive room. That's cool. That's super cool. Views of the mountains out back. Interesting little setup here. That's wild looking house.
Yeah, that's weird.
Is that normal in your area?
I mean, not really. I mean, those look like condos / houses. That's weird.
Very good. All right, let's keep going. So that's the 95. I believe that data makes sense to me, right? Like everything adds up. So we know to make $95,000 a year, we know what the home needs to look like, right?
Okay.
Now the next thing we want to go through is the other top performer that's right next door, which is 89,683. So we got 89,683. I feel pretty confident about this one as well. Same building, that's huge. That's a nice bonus. Hot tub, showing off the hot tub at night and during the day with the views. Good marketing on the home. And this is a good design already, I can tell, especially with the blue colors and the brown, making it all look really nice and quaint. They got the fireplace going. It seems like a nice cozy area. It's not nearly as large as the other one, but it's giving off more of like a newer cabin feel, I guess you could say, right? That's down there. This is up here. It's not a super nice kitchen, but they're pulling in 89 bedrooms. It's kind of giving more of like a ski resort feeling than anything else.
For sure.
Cool. Nice big place. So in the same building, this is a good thing, right? We have one that's making 89 and one that's making 95 together in the same place. That's what you want to see. That should be one of their main photos. That's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
That's what we call a trend, right? Or consistency. So now, mind you, we also know that the other one, the 56, we're gonna move those two next to each other. This guy's the 56. He's most likely in the same spot. Now let's review his listing, kind of get a feel for it, right? We already can tell this is kind of a mistake. One of the mistakes I made before where I was talking about not having a dining room. You can already see this person doesn't have a dining room. And this is where they've kind of tucked it in there. So not the best feeling. Oh, but they have another one over here. So that's interesting.
It's unique. Yeah.
That's different.
I think, oh, and they have a hot tub too. Interesting.
Yeah, this is very interesting now. So now we want to check.
Because it doesn't look bad.
No, it doesn't at all. No, I was expecting worse, to be honest. I was expecting worse. This is not bad at all. And it's in the same building, so that's not a good sign. Let's pull up the last one here, and then we'll take a look at other details. So the last one is 75. That's the one, actually. We're gonna go back to 56, 45.
And all those have been available for a long time too, it looks like. So
yeah, so that's one of the criterias is that days available, it'll be over 250 plus days. So somewhere between 250 and 365. That's how we get that annual revenue number.
Oh, so you're pulling all of them that have that number. So
Correct.
I mean, there's not any that doesn't. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we need. So this is the home doing 75,000. Really weird first photo. It has a cabin feel to it. I'm not super impressed by it, but at the same time, it's giving a lot of the ski resort cabin sort of feel. That's a good table. That's a great table.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wouldn't say the one doing 56 is doing a terrible job though, right? And it's got a high. So this one probably could be making more if they did a little bit better on their job, on their photos and everything. So I would assume that this one could probably do about 80,000 if they just knew to take proper photos and market it a little bit better.
Yeah.
80 to 85 for sure. So now we need to figure out what's going on with this 56. Okay. Because that's just not adding up. This is sort of one of those issues where we have a trend here, right? We have a trend of the first home making 95. We can tell why. It's got massive rooms. It's really appealing. Good photos, good kitchen. We have this second one that's designed in a really like quaint sort of way. Same building, doing about 89,000. That's a beautiful trend, very close. And then this one here that we just looked at is also a good home. It's got that cabiny sort of ski resort. I don't know what the word is for, but they could be doing better, right? And so they could be up around that 85. So we have 3 homes all in a very close area doing somewhere between $85,000 and $95,000 a year, if done properly. That's a beautiful trend. That's exactly what you want because you know what the home needs to look like. You know how well it needs to be put together, interior design wise, how the photos need to be done for you to be able to hit that mark, right? However, we have one outlier who is in the exact same area and they're not performing as well. And so we need to figure out why, right? Let me find this $75,000 home.
Wondering if, because the one that was struggling said it could only do 10. Do the others say 10? Because I
10,
wonder
10,
if
10.
that's
Yeah, they all say 10.
okay.
Here's our these are 4. Okay, so and then we have the 56. Super interesting. Okay, so it has a good amount of bedrooms and bathrooms. Same with the guests. It does have good ratings. It's got 100%. It has 53% occupancy. 387. So it might be just their pricing is the issue. Because the home, so we know that it's not as nice. Like that's a given, right? If we go
Yeah.
toe to toe, it's not as nice. It's not terrible, but it's just not as nice. It also doesn't give people want the experience of where they're going. Okay. So if you're going to Florida and you're going to be on the beach, you want a house that makes it that you feel like you're on a beach. You don't want a cabin that feels like it's supposed to be in the woods, and vice versa.
Yeah.
If you go into
Yeah.
if you go into the woods in Tennessee, you don't want a beach theme on your house. It makes no goddamn sense, right? So my theory is that the reason that this one is doing well is because it does give off that ski resort feel. And same with this one here, also giving the ski resort feel. This one here is more so giving the old lady feel, right?
Yeah, no, that makes a
But,
ton of sense.
but it's a good
Especially,
home.
I almost feel like they do better if they flip the pictures. Like the ones on the bottom are better than
The one, yeah, they are.
like,
Yeah, that was my
like
thought too.
honestly.
As we kept going, I was like, oh, this isn't too bad, it's not too bad. But this goes to show how much interior designing makes a difference. But also,
Okay.
like their average, so the average nightly rate that they're asking for is 387, right? This home here is asking for about the same price. Now, mind you, they're in the same building, but this one's much nicer. It just is, it's
Yeah.
more inviting,
Yeah.
it's more Airbnb strategic in a
Yeah.
lot of ways,
Yeah.
okay, in comparison.
Makes sense.
And so this shows why marketing and the way you set up the home and the way you deal with the revenue, all nightly rate, all make a difference on how much money you're going to make, right? You can
Yeah.
kind of see these errors. So, anyways, this person probably doesn't want just anybody in their home. That's why the nightly rate is so high. These other people they can ask for, and that's why they're getting it. So that's my assumption there. Now, what we're seeing is we got these 3 homes, 4 bedrooms that are all really nice in a certain area. Let's see if we can find anything that's available in that area that matches up with that and try and assume if we could do just that well or not. And those are fairly nice homes. We're probably gonna need something that looks pretty nice. I want to figure out exactly where they are again. They're right at
Has
this.
the filter listed for just the for a house? Because those were actually condos too.
It has everything in there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're looking at them all. Okay, those ones are like way over here, which is right at the
Yeah.
entrance. I'm gonna switch. So interesting. Okay, I can already tell it's not gonna be what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not, which means that this one's not going to be either. I wonder what this guy's about. This is a 6-bedroom. Now we aren't doing an analysis on 6 bedrooms, but
That was way nice.
yeah, it's big. It's big. It's got nice
Yeah, very
railing.
good.
It's got a good kitchen, bathroom. That's a really nice set. It's not super unique, to be honest. It's at 2 kitchens.
Yeah.
This might be
Upstairs,
2
downstairs.
units. Yeah, it's 2 units. Interesting. Got the hot tub, I think, right there. Hard to tell. Yeah, there might be something here, but at the same time, maybe not. That's hard to tell. It's only 4,200 for a 6-bedroom. If you spend about 3,500 to $4,000 a month, you need to make $90,000 a year. That's sort of the
Yeah.
rate. So, but anyways, okay. So the issue that we're coming across here is that in the area that we need to find a comparable home, all of the homes that are currently available are not nice enough to match what we're looking for. which means that if you were to rent out one of these homes, you're not going to make the 90,000 that we were just looking at, right? So why even bother? I'm curious what this will know. Same idea. So what we need to do now, so okay, two things. One, we know what makes $90,000 a year, right? So we've now gone through this list. We've taken a look at these homes, and we can group these three together, and we have an idea in our head of what 90,000 makes. So when the home comes available, that will make about $90,000 a year, and if the rent is roughly about 3,500, you know you can get it and make about $20,000 of profit off of that home, right? If it comes in any less, that's great, but it probably won't. So it'll be around $4,000 a year. So if something like that becomes available, you have the data to know in your head, I can take on that home, right? Now what we want to do is we want to see what the rest of these homes look, these ones here in this grouping look like, and see if these homes that are currently available on the market, if they can match the same quality, right? So is this $2,000? It'll be, $2,000 less a month, which would be nice. But can it still, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
Okay, cool.
Especially knowing that there isn't anything available that looks like that $90,000 or so. So then you can just keep market. This is genius. This is sweet.
Yeah, you just keep going. That's kind of the thing, right? So like when you're in this pivot bedroom, or sorry, when you're in here, we just went through one subsection of one section.
Yeah.
Right. We just did one grouping. Now we're going to do another grouping. And so what we're doing is here, we're creating all these buy boxes. Like this one is we know what we need for 90,000. Now we're going to try and figure out what we need for 70,000. And then you go into the next one, you kind of create these like lists. Like realistically, what you should be doing is writing down what the homes need to look like, what criteria they need, so that when the time comes, you don't have to refer back to it. You just have like a list in your hand, right? Needs a pool heater, needs a dining room, like stuff like that. Even like where it is within the map matters too, right? So anyways, let's keep going, because I only have about 15 minutes before I gotta take off. I want to get this as much as I possibly can. I want to try and find something here. So I'm gonna open up all these guys. I can see this first one looks pretty cool. The way that they designed it, they're doing 74. Actually, shit, I need to make sure that they're all over here. So there's 7 over here, 52, 18, 47, 27, 8,000, 25, 64. That's a weird combo.
All the way from $7,000 to 50.
Yeah, I'm more interested in this over here. 64.
60. Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, another 66 over there and the 34 over here. What I don't like is that there's none here, right? Like in this huge grouping right here, I don't see any, even though that's where a bunch of them are available, or a couple of them. You know what I mean? They're all right here. But when I'm looking at that data, I'm seeing that they're all available down here, and nothing's popping up in those areas. So it might have to do with regulation, right? Might have to do with regulation. We're going to keep going. So this is the first one. That one's doing 70. What is it? 74. That opened up. Looks good. This one's doing 66. Super weird green color shit that they going on. But to each their own. Let's highlight those guys green because we know they're good to go. Great. I'm actually going to give these ones up here just for you, like, do it however you want to do it, but I'm just going to make them a little darker so we know these are the ones that are in there. That way, when you come back, you have to kind of split up like higher, lower. All right, this guy open up. It's in that same building. This must be just a pure Airbnb play, but terrible listing in comparison. Terrible.
Yeah.
Who wants to see the outside of the house?
The house,
right?
That's funny.
And that person's making 66,000, which makes it even more confusing why the one making 56, right? The one that's making 56, it's even more. It has to be the revenue strategy, like the fact that they're putting the home up at 387.
Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting. I'm just opening them up, trying to get them all open so we can go through them.
Yeah.
Hold on, actually, I want to check this one, 66. What's their nightly rate? Yeah, see, nightly rate 289. And they have an 89% occupancy, whereas the one that's doing 56 is way higher and they're only at 53% occupancy. So if they just lowered their nightly rate, they could probably increase the revenue by quite a bit.
Yeah.
Shit matters. Super weird listing. Kay's got a couple down here. It's a good host to keep an eye on. There's another one she has. It's always nice to see a host that's also doing like multiple listings really well. Because when they're doing multiple listings, they're just like you, right? They're doing this full time. They're trying to, and if you think their listings look pretty good, then
just do everything they do. Yeah.
That's what I did. You should try to do everything they're doing and more, right? This is another example of a terrible first 5 photos because they're all the same. I'm not seeing anything, right? And this is Beth. She also has a couple as well. So where's Beth in here? There she is. This is Beth as well. Once again, look at all the same photo. But this one's doing 75. This one gives a better feel though. All right, so there's 70 something. So just a big open area. Photos aren't done extremely well. So you could design a home like this better and you could take photos better. But for the most part, not too bad. It's doing about 70,000. So in other words, my brain, if I see a home that's very close to this, then I can put it together in interior wise better, like cool game room they got going on and everything. But I know that I can make more than what she's making. So that's a sign to see. And this home is, where is it exactly? It's way over there. That's even better sign because we've only been looking over here. So to see someone way over there making that much, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Now this is Kay, and Kay I think she's down here. We've been over here. The one we just looked at was over there. This one's down here. Pretty good home. I'm not going to go through all the photos. I kind of feel like I get the gist of it. Once again, this one's the really nice home, but just terrible marketing. That's why they're doing what they're doing. We know where they are. This is a really good home. Let's see. What is this? Stats R&R. I want to figure out how much they're making. 64. This grouping right here, 66, 66, 64, 64, 63. That's a really good group of homes that are all doing almost the exact same. Very good group. So, and what I mean by that is like, this is a really easy criteria list to figure out. Every single home so far has had high ceilings. Every home so far has had a hot tub. Every home has had like a pretty decent interior design. So
hot tub and
they have a dining room. Like this one looks like it should be doing way better, but it's not. It's just really good photos though. It's by the company Evolve. And then this is another one that Kay has. Hers are like literally both doing 66. Once again, decent home, decent kitchen. It's nothing spectacular, which is what we're trying to figure out right now, because the homes that are available are nothing spectacular, right? So if they're nothing spectacular, then that's what's available. Can we make money with something that's not spectacular? So so let's go back. So let's assume we have a general idea of what 66 will do. And let's look at what's available. I want to see this one because I think it had a higher ceiling, I think. Could be wrong. No, it doesn't. It's got a boring fireplace, bad kitchen. So that one's no good. This $3,000 one. It's big.
And you say around 3,000 to 3,500. I mean, it's really only worth it if you're upwards of 80 grand, 90 grand. Is that kind of what you said?
Well,
generally.
that's what I want to figure out right now. So we're gonna go into
Yeah.
here, and there's this additional tab right at the very end. And this tab here is the template that I use to figure out how profitable a listing could be. So in the first grouping here, we have just general information about the property that you're going to be adding in. And then over here, we have the actual comparable properties. So we're now going to add in comparable properties. And then down here, you add in how much you think the property is going to make. And then you have all of your expenses. And you can figure out how profitable the place is going to be. So if we think we're going to make about $66,000 a year, put that in here, right? If the rent on that home is 3,000, the cleaners cost 175, let's say, times 6 turnovers every single month. Gas is probably 200, electric's 150, internet is 80, amenities, or sorry, maintenance is going to be about 150, amenities is going to be 100 because you got that. You're not going to have a hot tub, but you have a pool, so you'll be taking care of that. You'll take care of the lawn, you manage it yourself. So all these zero out, right? Which means that if the rent was 3,000 and you're making $66,000 a year, there's only $9,000 of profit to be made there, right? If the home was 2,200, there's about $18,000.
Well, significantly. Yeah.
So this home here is 3,000, probably not like a no-go, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like
I like that calculator. Where'd you get that calculator from? The one that you were using?
It's in your pivot table. I made it myself.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Love it. Okay.
Yeah, it's all in there for you. So yeah, so you can go through it. It's at the very top, you're putting in, information about the property you're looking at, you're putting through the comps, you're pulling those directly over from what you're doing, and then you can actually plug in all that information in. Okay.
Cool. Love it.
Cool. So, I don't think there's a property here that makes sense, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
Potentially, right. We're still looking at like a 5-bedroom right now. It's only 2,200. And if you could maybe figure out a way to make it look amazing or awesome or some shit like that, then you'd be good to go.
Yeah.
This one's like shit, so I wouldn't even think about it.
Yeah.
So anyways, what we've been able to do, right, during this 1 hour is go into just one location, one area, figure out what makes 90,000 and figure out what makes 66,000. Right now we have like a clear idea of what the quality of the home needs to look like to make a certain amount of money. And then also that there's nothing available that's within the right price range to make 90,000. And the homes that would make 66,000 are a little bit overpriced. That to me is some of the best fucking information you can get, because you're not going to put your money into the wrong homes, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of what I'm teaching people is how to not lose money, right?
Absolutely.
And so, you just kind of have to keep going. Like the next thing I would do is look at the 5 bedrooms, especially in this area, the zip code right next door to this one, because there's this one here that's 3,100. It's a 5-bedroom. It's huge. It's got new kitchen. Like
beautiful.
It's going to show well, right? So I'd be interested in how much that one's going to make, right? But anyways, so your job now is just to like keep doing this process, keep it going. This is cool. I will use this time frame to teach you how to do this, right? And then from here, you just want to keep going. And so you have all the resources that you need. You have the map line, the process, you have AirDNA, and you have this sheet, right? Now, so to finish off, I'm gonna share this sheet with you, right? And you're gonna have to go to file and then make a copy. And then it's gonna give you your own version, and you just close off this one and forget about it. Okay.
Okay.
And it's gonna be the same thing for Provo and Orem. Now, Provo and Orem at first glance, for the last couple minutes here, the lighter green means that there's not that many listings. There's between 2 and 3 listings, right?
Okay.
And once again, data, we want to see a trend. So it's not the best to see only a couple. Darker green, there's 5 or more. So at first glance, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of money being made in Orem, right? Once again, that's the good news. That's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Pull up your listing. I know you're just looking at a listing. We probably should have went through it together, but you have the process now. And then go to Provo. It does look a lot better for this area, but not this area. And my assumption is that this area is that spot that's up in the mountains again, near the ski resort.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so I'm gonna share all three of these with you.
Cool.
And you can go through them and get a better feel for it. But I have a
Love
couple,
it, brother.
I have a couple minutes if you have any questions.
No, I mean, that was obviously, I'm going to dive back into this recording. Am I going to have access to this recording? That'll help me a ton.
Yeah, it'll
Cool.
be up on YouTube as well.
Cool.
Still okay with it?
Yeah, I'm good with
Awesome. Appreciate it.
and that process is all I need. I mean, I've been looking for something like this, so I'm super excited to dive into the Orem, especially. So
Awesome. Awesome, man.
no questions really. So
Cool. Well, if you have anything, just shoot me an email, okay? And
okay,
if you can just let Kyle know how this went, I really appreciate it.
we'll do.
Awesome. Awesome.
All right,
Thank
John.
you.
Appreciate you, brother.
You too. Appreciate it.